Hey guys, welcome back to the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles! In the last episode, we had a little visit at Mr. Garadab, and we talked to him a little bit, so he seems to be a little fishy because he won't tell us everything he knows apparently. But we couldn't get more out of him, so now we're here at the prison, and we want to talk to Soseki-san about what he knows. So let's get going. It's the 21st February at the local prison, Cell 9. Oh. Okay. I was pretty sure that we can talk to him. But apparently we can't, so I guess we have to move again. So, but where to? That is really weird because maybe we are supposed to go to Sholmes' suite? It's 21st February. Sholmes' suite. Oops, misclick. Okay. Mr. Sholmes, are you here? No, he's not. Okay. But Iris here. Okay, so, first of all, chalkboard. Yes, this is where you note down ideas, isn't it, Iris? So, what's on the blackboard today? Buck up, Bruno. What is this?
Oh, I'm just playing around with ideas for the title of the next month's installment. Another idea I had was the barrel coronet. I'm really torn about which one to use. What do you think, Bruno?
Anything but buck up, Bruno, obviously.
I suppose you're right. I tell you what, I'll surprise you with it. You'll have to wait until next month and see.
So many sleepless nights. Okay. Alright, so let's talk to Iris. Iris? That's incredible concentration, that is.
I find it quite remarkable how she can focus on so many different things at once.
Perhaps I should try drinking more herbal tea.
The bland throat from the right would be good for you, Bruno.
Oh, Iris? This girl is destined for great things, I'm sure. Okay, she won't talk to us? Okay. I'm a little puzzled, guys. I don't really know what to do, to be honest. Have we overlooked something maybe here? I'm pretty sure that we checked everything. So the corpse, the windows, the costume, the stage. Okay, I wasn't thorough enough. Alright.
One of the teacups that Mr. Shakespeare and his guest drank from last night. But don't go drinking from them, Mr. Naruto. There's bitter poison inside.
I'm not planning on drinking any, don't worry. Anyway, the cups are both empty.
That's true. So, one was Mr. Shakespeare's, and the other must be the cup that Mr. Natsumo's drinking from.
But Soseki-san wasn't poisoned, of course. Perhaps we should take these so we can examine them in more detail later. The pair of teacups has been entered in the court. Okay, the pair of teacups. The teacups used by Mr. Shakespeare and Mr. Natsume, the one with the green line around the rim was Mr. Natsume's. Oh, okay, now things fall in place. Looks like you're having a good snoop around, huh? Inspector Gregson, but back so soon? After I threw that little Japanese fella on the clink, I went and reported this to the investigation division. In 5 minutes' time, this place will be cordoned off by the yard. Oh, I see. Well, we'd better be leaving then.
Poor Mr. Natsume must be feeling very low being back in the cell again so soon.
I'm sure. Oh, what? I'm sure we should probably go and... What is happening there?
What's wrong, Mr. Naruto? Yeah! Out, brief candle! Life's but a walking shadow, a poor player! That's struts and frets his hour upon the stage, and then is heard no more. Now, how soundeth the next part?
'Tis a tale told by an idiot, full of sound and fury, signifying nothing. This is a quote by Hamlet, by the way.
Indeed, oh happy day!
What?
Walking Dead!
The fella isn't dead at all!
What was that nonsense he was saying, though? I think, yes, it was from William Shakespeare's Macbeth. A solid quality from Act 5, Scene 5.
Shakespeare. So it was that the victim, Mr. William Shakespeare, Shamspeare, came back to life. If the man had indeed been poisoned, it transpired that it hadn't killed him. He was taken by emergency carriage to a nearby hospital for treatment, and Inspector Gregson evicted us from the scene of the crime, whatever that now was. February 21st, Briar Road.
Whatever do you think will happen now?
Good question. What a strange situation for Mr. Natsume, arrested for a murder, but then the victim comes back to life?
I think perhaps the victim was never dead in the first place. It seems very likely that Mr. Shakespeare did consume poison, as we deduced. But was it an accident, attempted suicide, or attempted murder? Until the truth can be established, I imagine the police will keep Mr. Natsume in custody.
I suppose so. Let's hope it doesn't come to anything more than a night in the cells. Oh, what's this? What's that man doing over there? He looks like he's trying to see into Soseki-san's lodgings.
Is something wrong, Mr. Naruhodo?
Excuse me, could we have a word?
Oh!
He just ran off.
I feel sure that I've seen that man somewhere before. Where was it?
I do too, but I don't remember. I do, by the way, guys. Well, we've done as much investigating here as we can, I think. Perhaps we ought to go to the prison and speak with Mr. Natsume again.
A good idea.
Well, just as a afterthought, the person standing here, that was the guy that Mr. Shakespeare was talking to in the third trial case, in the third case in the first game, Adventures, in the clouded Kokoro. And they were arguing on the street. That was the same person, I'm pretty sure about that. But now at least we do have the cup of tea, and we're gonna examine those straight away, of course. So let's have a look. This must be the cup that Mr. Shakespeare was drinking from then. It's stained on the inside.
Tea does that, I'm afraid. Even green tea.
Oh really? I've never noticed before.
You've never noticed?
Well, I never leave it in the cup long enough to leave a mark. I like to gulp it down. Drink tea while it's hot. That's the Japanese way, isn't it?
Oh dear, so many people seem to have the wrong idea about our culture. But most of them are Japanese.
Okay. So what about this cup of tea? Is this our cup of tea?
This is the teacup from which Mr. Natsume was drinking.
Yes, unlike the other one, the inside of the cup is completely clean.
I suppose he must have drunk the contents before the tea had a chance to leave a mark.
I always gulp it down too.
Sorry, Mr. Naruhodo.
Well, if you just sip it a little by little, it goes cold.
Clearly I shall have to instruct you in the proper way to take tea.
The details of the pair of teacups have been updated in the court record. The pair of teacups, the teacups used by Mr. Shakespeare and Mr. Natsume. There is no tea ring on the inside of Mr. Natsume's cup. Aha! Interesting. Very, very interesting. But there doesn't seem to be anything else of interest, is there? Just to be sure. Nope. This seems like we found everything we could find. So that means we can finally move to the prison. There he is. 21st February. Local prison. Cell 9.
Look, Mr. Naruto. Mr. Natsume, have the police finished questioning you now?
Look, I'm student Mr. Naruto Esquire! Oh, yes?
What is he? Tell me! Is he a ghost? Is he here to haunt me?
Let me guess, you're talking about Mr. Sholmes.
He actually calls himself a great detective, Mr. Natsume, not a ghost.
But
his diabolic deductions, they're not of this world. They've left me. Ah, cursed! I'm cursed, I tell you.
well, that sort of hurts.
Credit where credit is due, Mr. Naruto. You were heavily involved in the deduction too.
Yes, moving on. We have some wonderful news.
Oh? The victim that we all thought was dead has come back to life again.
No. In the absolutely worst case, you could only be tried for attempted murder. That's great, isn't it, Mr. Natsume?
It's terrible! Oh? I'm stuck in the cell, suffering for some silly wrong end of the stick. You did it, didn't you? Confess, you're a killer. Why the mustache? Constant questions!
I'm sorry to hear that.
Oh, that selfish shyster! Make up your mind. Are you dead or alive? If you were going to come back to life, why bother dying? Wickedly wishy-washy William!
Well, it seems likely that Mr. Shamspeare was never actually dead in the first place.
Oh yes, that might make sense. And I'm pleased that he's alive, of course. Our lively debate last night was much fun. I'd be sad to think it was our last. Ah! Oops.
Mr. Natsume, does this mean that you did see the victim last night? You met with Mr. Shamspeare, didn't you?
I'm not saying another word. I demand to have a lawyer present.
Who do you think I am? Please, Mr. Natsume, we need to hear your side of the story.
Oh, why am I cursed like this?
That's a very good question. So, usually I would present first. Am I gonna do that now? Nah, let's just converse. What happened? Can you tell us exactly what happened last night then, Mr. Natsume?
There's nothing to tell. But, Mr. Naruto Esquire, I'm eternally grateful to you for helping me with that accursed case yesterday.
The case that saw poor Miss Green hospitalized after she ended up with a knife in her back.
It's hard to believe that was only yesterday. After the trial was over, I trudged my weary way back to the lowly lodgings. And that evening, at past 9 it must have been, I visited Mr. Shamspeare.
So you did go to the victim's room then?
As we feared. I didn't do anything wrong! I'd never been to his room before! It was the first time!
Then, what made you decide to go?
I bumped into him when I arrived back at the house. We got chatting, and it developed into a discussion. But he had to go out, so I bade him farewell.
That ties in with what Mr. Garrideb said, that the victim went out and came back after 8.
We met again later that evening, at around 9 or just after, when I took him some nice tea I'd brewed as a gift.
So it was you who brought the tea that had clearly been drunk at the scene then?
And I suppose you were discussing the works of Shakespeare, were you? Yes, that's right. That's exactly right. Romeo and Juliet! Who was the stronger? It was a delightful debate. I'm sure. Such a stimulating subject, Shakespeare!
And the debate became very heated, so you slipped poison into Mr. Shamsby's tea?
No, never, not at all. Team Juliet won. There was me. And when I left his room, the flamboyant fellow was fighting fit. I swear it categorically.
Oh, interesting. So let's talk about your cursed existence. Mr. Natsume, you often say the same thing about yourself, I've noticed. That you have a cursed existence.
I'm sure I've mentioned this to you before, but I've been here in Great Britain for a year now, and in that time, I've learned that it's no place for me.
It can be very trying to live in a foreign land and adapt to the ways of another culture.
There are foreigners everywhere I look, and they all stare at me. They all laugh. That's the impression I get whenever I go out. It makes me scared to leave my room. Which is why I've become a recluse. But even in my room I find no respite from my fears. I've moved more times than I can remember. And then, 1 week ago, I moved into Briar Road.
But why? I mean, why did you choose that place? It doesn't seem very comfortable.
Because the rent is cheap. I have so little money it spoke to me.
The rent.
Obviously there's a reason why it's cheap. Because the room is cursed.
Cursed? Cursed how?
The previous occupant, the man who lived there before, took the room, died there.
Oh no!
He was only a young man, but one morning he was found dead, and no one could explain why.
Surely no one would want to live in a room with a history like that.
I didn't. When the letting agent recommended the place, I waived. But I want books, and books cost money. A horrible history is a small price to pay. When I realized it would mean I could buy more books, I signed the lease like lightning.
Brave? Or Blinkered?
But after I moved in, I soon came to realize what I'd done. I realized how horrible that room history really was.
Gosh, was it really so awful?
Horrible history.
How did the room's horrible history affect you, Mr. Natsume? What happened?
At first, it was just a feeling. The feeling of beady eyes boring into my back, watching me.
Do you think that might just have been your mind playing tricks on you?
No. My mind doesn't know any tricks. It was someone else. It's been on long nightmare ever since I was given the keys to the place. A
nightmare? You've been having bad dreams, you mean?
All the souls who've died in that room lean over me in my sleep and try to strangle me.
That really is horrible.
And now I came to think of it, it happened again last night too. The very same night that Mr. Shamsby was writhing in agony from the poison in his body. He was on the verge of being suffocated silently by those miserable spirits in my room.
You simply must move out of that room as soon as possible.
Yes, you're right. I know it. And that's why I'm already searching for the next room with a history to call home.
I think perhaps you should try to avoid accommodation with any kind of history at all. Otherwise, I'm scared that you yourself may become history.
Who? Susato-san knows how to make the man listen.
Of course. My Lord of the Manor is worried about the curse on my room as well.
You mean Mr. Garidab?
Yes, he knows that if people keep dying there, he'll never be able to rent it out again.
Well, that's true. I, for one, wouldn't go near the place.
Ah, perhaps that may explain why the landlord pays so much attention to the gas lamps and his tenants' movements.
You mean because he's worried about their well-being? He does seem to have an unusual keen interest in the amount of gas in the pipes. There must be a reason why he keeps such close tabs on the occupants of his let rooms. What do you mean? He pays so much attention to the gas lamps.
Oh dear, no. It's nothing to do with you, Mr. Natsume. Please, forget I said anything.
Oh, now you're talking about me behind my back as well.
What's important is that Mr. Shamsby isn't in fact dead at all. Once he's come around and he's able to tell us what happened, we'll be able to get you released.
Yes, please. Oh, I do hope you're right.
Excuse me? Inspector Gregson?
I couldn't help overhearing what you just said. And on that note, I have some good news and some bad news.
Oh!
Which do you want first?
Always, every time the bad news comes first. When hope is all you have, hold on to it. That's my guiding principle.
Right, well, in that case, the good news it is.
Huh?
Sorry, but it's just a lot easier to explain everything that way.
Then why did you ask me my preference?
As you might have heard, the victim, Mr. Shamsby, was just unconscious. He's come round now.
Yes, we saw it happen in all its terrifying glory.
He's still being treated by the doctors, but we've managed to get a written statement from him already.
Oh, isn't that wonderful, Mr. Natsume?
Oh, thank goodness. It's all over then. I can leave the somber cell.
Sorry, no, that's not on the cards.
What? Why ever not, Inspector?
Mr. Shamsby has implicated someone as being responsible for what happened last night.
Implicated someone?
Oh dear. You don't mean...
I'm sorry to say I do, yes. He's pointed the finger at you, Mr. Natsume.
Oh!
By sweet poison did he seeketh to end my life. That wicked caitiff, Soseki Natsume.
No.
So I'm afraid you'll be appearing in court as planned. You'll be wanted to make the necessary preparations.
No!
And so, once again, Soseki-san found himself having to take the dog in the Old Bailey. Whether his room was haunted or whether he was just terribly unlucky, I knew I had no choice. The following day, I would represent him in court and do my utmost to break the curse that blighted him. To be continued. Well, guys, this is a very strange case, and if you want to know how the trial plays out, you'll have to tune in next time for the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles Resolve. See you then.